We are on the record. That's how disability hearings start.
Exactly.
Andrew.
And we are on the record.
Welcome to our podcast, Disability Warriors The Download, powered by Liner Legal, your disability warriors, fighting for dignity, justice, and the benefits that you deserve. Each episode, we bring you powerful stories, real legal insight, and everything you need to feel informed, supported, and never alone. Whether you are navigating the complex disability process yourself, supporting a loved one, or just want to understand the system a little better, you're in the right place. Make sure to hit follow now so you never miss an episode. And if you're ready to take the next step, head to our website at linerlegal.com to schedule your free case review.
Because your voice matters.
Your fight matters.
And we're with you every step of the way. Let's dive in. Welcome, everybody, to the Disability Download. Andrew, it's been way too long since I've seen you. Clearly, you brought out the floral for me today.
I know. Well, have to dress to impress because we were on the record.
Well, you do look nice. Andrew, what's going on with you, my friend?
Been busy. Been really busy.
What have you been busy with?
Bullying insurance companies online, which has become my new
Oh.
pastime. Yeah, it works. It's unbelievable that the insurance companies will just do what they can get away with. And I'm having a lot of luck by bringing attention to their behaviors online. One of the most egregious. Well, it's funny. It doesn't even have to be a most egregious situation. It's even the smallest, violations, if you will. I'm calling them out on that because if they're going to do these small things, what's it going to stop them from bigger things? And people just go along with it. There's no consequences out there for these insurance companies.
Let me ask you a question. I'm just curious, and this is probably something that other people are wondering as well. And I know how it works with Social Security, which is most of our practice, but I was surprised that recently you took a long-term disability case, which kind of, I guess, came through my phone originally. That's how I know about it. Where when we signed the client, they were already, at least by appearances, past the appeal deadline, which they weren't aware of, presumably, because in the message to us, they thought they had more time to file the appeal than they truthfully had. Are you able to get insurance companies to relook at things or kind of overlook an appeal deadline?
I have. I mean, I don't really have much, authority on my side to assist. So it's kind of funny because I can be this really big bully, but then I got to kind of remember sometimes I need a favor from these insurance companies. What I remind the insurance company is the law that governs all these cases. ERISA is a procedural safeguard that's meant to benefit the person who's employed, the person with the contract, although it's been misconstrued and has become more protective of the insurance companies. That was not the original intent. So I usually bring that to the insurance company's attention and say, look, there's no harm in allowing my client to have an opportunity to appeal. And the case you're referencing has a lot of nuance to it about why that appeal deadline was blown. So, when there is that much nuance and perhaps someone did think they appealed, if they ultimately, don't allow me to perfect the appeal, then perhaps I could sue. There's no magic word that is required to file an appeal. I'm talking to you, Unum. They're not the ones in this situation, but they said in a case of ours that my client never used the word appeal, thus she never appealed it. She basically said how I disagree with this decision over and over and over. Yet,
They expect somebody to be a lawyer. I mean-
exactly, and the courts have shut them down. There's a great case out of I think it's the Second Circuit, Israel versus Unum. Ironically, it's Unum in this case again, which said there is no magic word requirement. This case, which does not have anything to do with Unum, I do believe my client might have appealed it. Her employer was assisting her a lot. That happens sometimes. The employers who get the policy, they're like, let me call the insurance company. Let's see if we can work this out. And unfortunately, that usually does not help at all.
Didn't follow through. They didn't let her know. And then time goes by. She thinks that she's being protected,
Yeah.
being cared for. And then before she realizes it.
And your friend did the right thing, that's what good lawyers do, they issue spots. She didn't go into his office for that issue, but, he identified there was this other case out there, got it quickly to you, quickly to me. We signed it and sent the letter all within, like, an hour. We moved very fast on that case because it was before the long weekend. I have to follow up with the insurance
Yeah.
company to see what they say, and I have to get the claim file. But, this happened yesterday with Unum. And that was the video that's going viral pretty quickly on my TikTok right now because this is a first. This is an absolute first. I filed the appeal against Unum just to, it's not, I hate using the word run of the mill, but, a standard LTD case, no wrinkles. And then like an hour later, I get a fax. That's how they communicate with me. They faxed me and said, we got your quote, very detailed letter, but your client actually needs to send a letter to us in writing that they're appealing the case.
That defeats the purpose of retaining an attorney.
Right. And there's a specific regulation that says it's improper for the insurance company to not work with an authorized representative. This is like there's not much black letter law in my world, but this one is. So I sent 3 letters yesterday, just firing back. And the reason why they're doing this, it's intentional in my opinion, because the regulations say in an LTD case, when you appeal, it must go to a person who is not involved with the original determination, which makes sense. It prevents, rubber stamping of denials. But here, I sent them all this new evidence. They immediately, within hours, gave it back to the original doctor. They're like, well, we have to review any evidence you send us. I'm like, no, no, this is absolutely wrong. I filed an appeal. Give it to a new doctor that wasn't involved. They're moving so fast, this original doctor already called my client's doctor's office.
What?
Yeah, this all happened in a matter of, like, several hours. So I sent 3 letters to Unum, and I'm like, "Tell me if this is is this appealed or not?" So, if they don't process the appeal, then I'll sue them because that's a constructive denial. They're not giving my client their rights. So, I mean, that's the ridiculousness I deal with, so that's why I'm on TikTok.
That should be our new slogan for the
What?
LT department. I'll sue him.
I'll sue him. I think I say something like that on TikTok. You put up a video on TikTok recently asking people to suggest, yes, to suggest ideas of what you should talk
Yeah.
about. And I want to do the same thing because I was looking back at my TikTok feed and all my content is most of it is just reactionary. It's like every day I'm dealing with bullshit of insurance company. I was like, people should know about this. Like, it's kind of a crazy TikTok feed. Yours is reactionary for sure, but it's also very educational.
Yeah.
Telling people what is, substantial gainful activity mean, which is it's a great service you're doing. But it's like mine is like I'm literally running a TikTok that's just based on like, here's how the insurance company tried to fuck my client. Like that's the theme of it, and it's a shame. And if it's happening to my clients who are represented by an attorney, imagine what these insurance companies are doing to all the unrepresented people who just walk away.
There you go.
Sucks.
Well, I love the little feature that we started off with on what's happening in the LTD world.
Yeah.
This is a fun variance from normal where we just kind of get right into Social Security speak.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I think why people watch us to kind of see what's actually happening in the office.
Yep.
We're humans too, and we're reacting to these situations and we're trying to make
True.
strategic decisions. But at the end of the day, these companies and Social Security, it's David versus Goliath
Right.
every single day. And we just have to be very, very clever on how we handle these cases.
Let's segue a little bit to what's going on in the Social Security
Yeah.
world because, as always, there's always some turbulence, some disruption, and that's what we love to talk about here at the Disability Download is the turbulence and the disruption. The big thing that's been so interesting to me to see, and I think we spoke about it in another context the last time we were together, was the Commissioner of Social Security, Frank Bisignano, has kind of been going on a tour of
Mhm.
America touting customer service improvements at Social Security. But when, in the experiences that I'm hearing from clients across the country, even just in the reactions from the media and elsewhere, I think that what they're doing is they're really just deceiving the public with the statistics that they're putting out. I mean, they're saying that people are now getting through to Social Security and able to speak to or get a response from Social Security using with AI chatbots in 8 minutes or less, different things like that. Andrew, what are you hearing from clients? Are you hearing anything different than what we've always heard?
Nothing different. I'm hearing a lot of frustration on the payment side. I know that's always been an issue, but if I think back of the most common complaints I get, it's people, we're winning their cases, but they're not getting paid, which is, the whole point of this thing. What Social Security is not telling you is that there has been no increase in the staff. In fact, there's been a marked decrease. There's, I think, thousands. I'm sure you can give a precise number here, but I know it's in the thousands of people who have left.
6,200 people.
6,200 employees left. So from what I understand that they're doing is they're taking people from essentially one department and moving them to another department. So clearly the loudest complaint was the wait times. Yeah, it's absurd when you call a government agency or an airline, whatever, and you hear a 1 hour wait time. Like, that's going to get everyone's attention. So that was low hanging fruit for them to try to improve. Is it improved? I don't know. I'm not commenting on that. But what I do know is they're moving employees to handle those calls. So
Which means other functions aren't being
other functions
handled.
are not being handled.
And I think the real world experience that I'm hearing from people who are, if they're fortunate enough to, I think there's deception all across the board here. I think that the numbers that they're putting out, they're not really telling you uh, the success rate that people are having in getting a hold of Social Security. Uh, I don't know how they're calculating that, people are getting through in 8 minutes. But what I can tell you is that when I speak to our clients who are trying to reach Social Security for something, when they do get a hold of someone, what happens is, and this is kind of similar to what you're saying, how they're just kind of moving their labor around. They're being, say we're here in the Cleveland area, right? I call up my local Cleveland office. I think that the person who I'm speaking to is going to be in Cleveland, but because, let's say the Beechwood Social Security, that's a suburb of Cleveland for those who don't know. The Beechwood Social Security office is short-staffed or they're overworked. Your call is actually being routed to somebody in Branson, Missouri, who you would think at least has the ability to answer your question and see all the information. But what people are being told is, oh, I can't answer that because I'm not in the office that's looking at your claim or overseeing your situation. So maybe the phone is being answered, but people aren't actually getting the answers that they need. I mean, they're really continuing to push people again and again, as they've been doing for years, to Social Security's online services, which are great. I mean, I will say there's a lot of things that you can do online. You can't do everything online. There's things you need a person in your office to get done. And until they change the requirements for certain things to be done, like attestations or signing certain documents, people are going to be harmed by the way that they're rerouting work and shifting things.
That's astounding. I did hear that. I've heard that from some people that you call, the Beechwood office and you end up with the Ravenna office or, you know, a Missouri office. But that's, I didn't know that those people could not assist on I mean, what's the point of routing a call to someone? It should not be localized by that.
Yeah.
I mean, these are Social Security employees. These aren't state agency employees.
And I don't know even how you could create this statistic or how they could get this data. But I think that what people read from the statistics that they put out versus the information that they actually want to know
Mm-hmm.
are two different things. People don't want to know how long it takes somebody at Social Security to answer the phone. They want to know how long it takes to get their problem resolved.
Right.
So if I call you and you answer the phone, but you have no ability to help me, and I have to call back 32 times in order to actually get the information that I want, the fact that you answered the phone in 2 minutes and 32 seconds makes the public think that they can get their problems resolved in that amount of time when really that's irrelevant.
Oh,
It could
yeah. It's the easiest thing to fudge when you think about it. It's like, "Oh, we don't have enough people
You're
answering
making
the
me
phone.
hungry, Andrew.
We'll have lunch
Don't
soon."
talk about fudge this early.
We'll have plenty of fudge. Um, they make people sorry, my phone's ringing. They make people, you know, think that I got all distracted by this fudge
Yeah.
thing, and now I can't stop thinking about fudge, but my point was they're fudging the numbers. It's such an easy it's like, such an easy fix. It's like, "Oh, there's not enough people to answer the calls." well, let's get more people to answer the calls, but none of these people have any idea what to do once they get someone on the phone. Like, one of the biggest issues I see with our clients is not knowing if their banking information is updated.
Correct.
And I tell people to call the 800 number, which I think is generally working for people. I don't see them or hear them calling back. But I instruct everyone, once I know that their case was, approved, to make sure that the direct deposit information is updated, because they might just get their back pay, before their monthly benefits even
Yeah.
start that way. That's the best resolution. So hopefully these people are trained on the phone to be able to take that critical information down, because you can't update that online, right?
No, not
Yes.
banking information. And I got to be honest, I don't have a problem with them, especially, and this is another news item
Mm.
that's out there right now. I don't have a problem with the fact that they require some in-person touch or to speak to somebody on the phone for some things like banking information, um, because of privacy and security concerns, and because, there's so many just hackers and people out there that are you don't really know who's accessing your information anymore. You certainly hope it's in good hands, especially when you're providing it to a United States government body. But another story that just came out last week, I don't know if this was intentional or not, Andrew, but you're just kind of marching us through our call sheet
I know
here
where this is
today,
going.
was the chief data officer at Social Security resigned. He was a whistleblower, and the reason what he was blowing his whistle on is the fact that data for over 300 million Americans, Social Security numbers, bank information, names, dates of birth, you name it, was put in an unsecured cloud account. So, there so far, to date, I have not heard that anybody's information was used in a negative way. That hasn't come out, but just the fact that the government would be so callous in allowing information to just be sitting in an unsecured cloud account for months, I believe that it was, that people could have accessed that didn't have the necessary security layers and screens on it. That's why banking information, at least in the short term, probably should have more screens on it if you're going to be giving it to Social Security.
Would you have said that, but for this, data breach, have you always thought that the banking information shouldn't be digital?
Um, I probably never thought about it.
I mean, I think about it often. I mean, everything we're doing now is digital. I mean, my phone,
Yeah,
can do anything my computer can, include online
yeah,
banking. No, this is a huge issue. Even putting the banking piece aside, the amount of personally, this is a government word here, personally identifiable information, PII, that they're putting in every file is enough to steal anyone's identity. I mean, you have, you know, all of their identifying information, including their relatives. Imagine every security question you've been asked, you can answer with probably one single social security file. It's astounding.
yeah.
I this is ridiculous. This is off topic, but it made me think of PII. I actually pushed back on this one at a judge in Toledo. My client missed his hearing, and the client called us very quickly after and said, "Oh, I was at the hospital with my mom. She had a procedure, so that's why I missed my hearing." Very good reason. Maybe he should have called me and give me a heads up, but whatever. He's taking care of mom. The judge wanted me to request my client's mother's medical records and upload those as part of our show cause. So a show cause is a letter where the government is asking you to show a good reason why they should not just dismiss your case for failure to appear. And I'm like, where do I start with the problems on this request? A, like, how am I going to even get these medical records?
It's not your
It's
client.
not my client. And B, you want me to upload someone's personally identifiable information to someone else's file, which could very easily become public. I think people forget that, if these cases are litigated through district court, they've published decisions that are written. So, I mean, you're exposing so much private medical information. I could not believe they asked me. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. I'll get an affidavit from my client attesting, pursuant to the penalty of perjury where he was at that hearing. But I couldn't even believe that was an actual request. And it just makes me wonder how many other clients have been asked to do this, or other attorneys who didn't give it a second thought.
We
We're a little more defensive of our clients, and I think most other firms are. But, like, I was like, "No." Like, normally, I just shut it down right now. I'm like, "You can tell the judge no." Like, there's no way.
That's unbelievable. I can't
Oh,
believe that that happened.
me too. That was a big surprise. But this goes to it. So, the security is just fast and loose at the agency. Fast and loose.
I wanna kinda balance out some of our sour with some sweet without the
Back to the
chicken mixed
fudge.
in, back to the fudge. Um, though one positive thing that's come out from Social Security in the last month is they added to Social Security's compassionate allowance list.
Mhm.
They added 13 additional compassionate allowances. Andrew, do you wanna explain what a compassionate allowance is for
Yeah.
listeners?
So everyone can access this list. You can easily just Google it. It's published by Social Security. It's a list of some very significant health conditions. Many of them are cancer related, diseases of the brain, really just debilitating, awful illnesses. If your conditions on this list, my understanding is you essentially will meet the listings. We've talked about,
Right.
the automatic uh, qualifying criteria on this podcast a number of times, but here, um, these conditions not only will meet the automatic criteria, I think the review is expedited.
Correct.
So, I mean, it's a huge, significant thing. I mean, this doesn't do away with the 5-month waiting period, which is a whole nother conversation. So, arguably a bit of a hollow victory in the sense if someone's got a terminal illness, but am not complaining that they're updating the list.
No, I mean, listen, so of those 13 conditions, I think several of them were related to like muscular dystrophy, of the new conditions that are on the list. Frankly, I think it's great if you happen to have the very specific,
Mhm.
rare diagnoses that are attached to this list. I think that, you know, I think it's a PR win for Social Security is I think one of the ways that they use
Huge
this a lot.
illness.
Yeah, because for the most part, if you had one of these 13 health issues or impairments, I don't really think you were gonna struggle much to get approved for disability benefits anyways. I mean, the conditions that they add to the compassion allowance list are usually so severe with a diagnosis alone that there's not a question, at least a real question of whether the person would be able to work.
Oh, no, they're devastating conditions, and many of them are
Yeah,
terminal, which,
yeah,
I've had to have this awful conversation with people that, yes, I think you're going to be approved, but based on what you're telling me, you have to be disabled, 5 full calendar months.
right.
You might, I can't even say this sentence,
Still have
but
to wait.
they might not even be alive by the time that happens. So, yeah, it is a big PR win. What I will encourage people to do is to submit different conditions. There is a link on the webpage where you can suggest conditions. Maybe this is something we need
Oh,
to.
I didn't know about that, Andrew.
Yeah, I just saw it this morning when I was taking a look at the new
You
conditions.
have to send that to me.
Yeah, because I'm thinking maybe we should bring this to the attention of the medical community. What do you think? Who are the patients you're seeing that are getting denied? Like maybe we shouldn't think of compassionate allowance as the most devastating condition.
Yeah,
There's a lot of other conditions that might be considered more routine, but we know that this person's going to win. Flag those
interesting,
cases earlier.
interesting. Yeah, please send that to me
Yeah,
afterwards.
that's
Uh,
fine.
so yeah, I mean, listen, I'm very excited for the people who are gonna get the benefit of this. Hopefully, they get an expedited review of their case, faster track to benefits. But I think what they don't really tell you is how many people this ultimately is going to affect.
Such a small
And of
amount.
the millions and millions of people who are applying for disability benefits, we're probably talking a couple thousand people that might fit on
Oh,
these lists, if that.
I mean, you and I have done thousands of disability hearings, met with thousands of Social Security applicants. When I look at the compassionate allowance list, I'm
Just
like,
never see it.
it's like another language. I'm like, I have
Yeah.
no idea that this is a thing. Like, there's a couple big, oh, yeah, that's an awful illness.
It's because people who have compassion allowance conditions, for the most part, there's no question we've represented people out that
Yeah.
have compassion allowance, but for the most part, it's it's individuals who they knew that they were going to be approved. They just went ahead and filed an application. They weren't expecting as much of a fight.
I have a tricky situation now where a client, as of August, developed a compassionate allowance condition. So this is a client who's actually waiting for their hearing, which will be in like a month, I think. But last month they developed a compassionate allowance. Now, the question was, how do we handle that? Because we could
exactly where
flag
you're going with this.
what would you do in that situation?
So
I don't
let
think
me
I told you about
let's at
this.
least frame the issue for
Yeah.
people who are listening. So when you have a situation like that, here's the risk that you run. I mean, in one hand, you're thinking, great, I know I'm going to be able to help this person. They're going to get benefits. But Social Security is all too willing to ignore how severe their health, how severely limiting their health conditions were before the compassion allowance diagnosis and just say, great, we will find them disabled as of 1 month ago. But what about the last three? I mean, I don't know this particular case, but what about the last 3 years
Yeah. And
that
what
this?
about the 5-month waiting period? So again, it always comes back to that same issue. Our great paralegal, Amy, flagged it right away, and she's like, "Should we reach out and try to get a fully favorable?" And I said, "Well, I love where your heart is. I love where your mind is. But if we do that, we're going to have to amend the onset date
Yep.
because there's no way the court can even grant it. Of course, we can, ask. They're not going to do an OTR for the entire period. It's
Nope.
just not going to happen based on the facts of this case. So, my advice on the client is like, we just have to wait for the hearing. I can amend it for you right now, but you won't get benefits for a full 5 months. We want this person to get this back benefits because if they ultimately don't survive, that back
Money
pay
to
can
their
go to the
family.
family. Yeah.
It's a really hard situation
Mhm.
to be in. It's actually one of the things that I think that we should, you know, through I think the channels that we've built with all the media that we've put out there. I mean, I've found some direct hooks into the agency and some of the policy things. That's actually something that I think we should try and advocate for on a larger
The
scale.
specific issue.
Is a way for Social Security to quickly approve
Mhm.
someone while continuing to investigate that back period.
Because they can do it. Where I see it most often is at the initial and reconsideration level with, a partially favorable, as we call it in the business, a later onset date. Like I had a client who clearly met the listings for his stem cell transplant, which means he was disabled for a 12-month period. But they said after that 12-month period,
Yeah.
he's not disabled. So they cut a check pretty quick, minus the 5 months, of course, but got a small check. But now we're stuck appealing. So I know it can be done.
Yeah.
But it's just the agency wants, square objects put in, square shaped holes. And this is a very different shape. We're fudging up the
Yeah.
system, if you will. And so it's just not going to be clear to the agency. They just can't deal with it.
Let's talk about that more because I'm
Yeah.
interested in seeing what we can do to help people who are going through this situation.
Well, thank you to Warrior Amy
There we go.
who identified it.
Andrew, I'm going to throw a new segment at you
All
today
right.
that you didn't know about,
Uh-oh.
but I think this is going to be a recurring thing here. So you can shake in your boots a little bit.
I'm a little nervous.
I want to hear about one of your wins from the last month. Tell me about a success, a story that you've had from the last
Mm.
month where you felt like you were able to actually make the difference for a client in one of these cases. And let me kind of explain this a little bit. I think that you're a fantastic lawyer. I think I'm a pretty good lawyer too. I think the team that we've built here is wonderful. But most of the time, and I think you would agree with this, most of the cases that we win, we always talk about these potted plant attorneys who are out there who do this work where, they don't really necessarily know the law as well. They're not advocating. They're not warriors. They win cases because they had a client who had the right facts.
Yeah.
Um, what I think makes you and I special and the people here is this might only be 5% of the total cases that are out there, but we're able to actually make a difference for people who are in the fringes. Somebody who would have been denied, we can push them towards approval. And to me, most people won't know if they have a good attorney like you or they have a potted plant helping them. But I want to know about one of those 5% cases. Where did you have a hearing or a story? Could be from the LTD world, could be from the Social Security world, where you made a difference for somebody.
So this is totally unscripted for our viewers. I'm so happy because I really want to answer this question because I had a win about 2 weeks ago that I'm still thinking about. And people who know us, we do so many hearings. I've probably done 20 hearings since this case, but I'm still thinking about it because I know what I did won the case. So this was a entirely mental and emotional health case, which everyone knows is my passion is mental and emotional health. And I just randomly was assigned to the case. It wasn't flagged for me to handle it. And it was with my favorite Cleveland judge. We don't have to name his name, but you know who I'm talking about.
Do.
And I came into the case arguing it as a social anxiety case. I had a very strong to speak the biz, 12.06, flavor to it. That's the listing for anxiety disorders. So I came in and argued the listings, and this judge, who asks hard questions, not for the purposes of trying to impeach your client's credibility, but to resolve specific issues, said, Mr. November, you're arguing social anxiety, you're arguing agoraphobia, but tell me, why is it all over the record that your client stays up very late at night and texts with many different men and keeps getting tattoos? How are those behaviors consistent with your condition? And I was like, so happy to get that question, because I knew about this issue already. My client had very significant bipolar disorder. And when she was manic, like many people with mania, she did very impulsive things. And that would often include spending money and getting tattoos. On the flip side, when she would have depressive episodes, she was very isolated. She lacked intimacy. She didn't have, a stable partner. She didn't have stable parents. So she would text with men. She never met up with them. I had to draw this all out on testimony, but she loved the attention that she would get. So I framed it to the court and I said, Your Honor, this is not a contradiction by any means. This is actually evidence that supports my
It's a
case.
confirmation.
It's a confirmation. I said, Your Honor, mental health is not binary. It's not you're disabled by anxiety or you're disabled by an affective disorder like bipolar. These are two conditions that my client can have at the same time, but they're both evidence of how poor her functioning was. Fully favorable decision on that case.
That.
I don't know whether it's going to be a 12.04 or 12.06 win, but what I did immediately after that hearing, because the judge didn't announce it, is I requested a medical expert. I wrote a brief and said, Judge, I think I laid this out pretty clearly how this is not a contradiction. This is something that's supporting my case. We need a medical expert. If you can't take my word for it, let's get a psychiatrist in there. And I'll cross-examine that psychiatrist into the dirt if they were to disagree on that point. But I got a call back. We don't need a medical expert on this one, Mr. November. The judge has enough information to make a decision, which is a code word that they're going to pay the case. So that was just a win that I've honestly been on a high about,
Love that.
because I've used,
Strategy.
what I've learned from this practice as well as my own health and dealing with people to, explain a case that the judge just probably never even thought about it like that.
Yep.
That felt good. So on that high.
And it's one of those situations where the potted plant attorney just stumbles through some answer that doesn't really make sense. And you know what? If it's a strong case, maybe the case is still approved.
Yeah.
It's possible, but not always.
No.
And there's many situations where you spell that exact same scenario out, especially in a mental health case, that you find those activities of daily living that the judge asked you about in the unfavorable decision as, well, they reported that they were texting men, they reported that they were leaving the house to get tattoos, so clearly they're capable of more functioning than they described.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's why it appeared as a contradiction. But when you just step back and remember all shapes are not square, you can say, this is unique. This is just a very different type of case.
Yeah.
You have to step back. Let me educate you a little bit about mental and emotional health. Listen to me, judge. And I think you'll get it. It'll make sense. Like if you really think about it. So we're in a great atmosphere for mental and emotional health right now. People are paying attention, but you're right. No, this case would have almost assuredly been a loss, but for that move. So, I that's why I was so excited, because I'm excited about a lot of wins, but this one just won't leave my head. And it's been 2 weeks, which is like a million years in our world. I mean, how many cases, like, I've got all that other, LTD craziness going on my TikTok, which I can talk about, but this one particular SSI
Love it.
case is just like, it'll make every difference in her life.
Yep.
But I will remember that case for a long time.
That's great, Andrew.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you for sharing that with everybody.
Sure.
I think we'll definitely repeat this segment because
Yeah.
it's nice to hear what's going on in the
And I get to ask you next time.
Deal. And well, let me just say one thing that I'm excited about, which is you and I are taking a little trip next week.
Yes.
We're going to San Diego for the NOSCR conference. The NOSCR, for those who don't know, it's the National Organization of Social Security Claimants Representatives. It's one of the 2 annual conferences that they have. I guess that makes it a biannual conference. But we are going to be going there, and I'm excited to get to spend some additional time with you.
Yeah, me
We don't
too.
normally get in the thick of things here in the office, and also hopefully, spending some time with our colleagues from across the country in this practice and sharing their stories, because I know a lot of them are listening and watching us, and probably have things that they want us to be adding to the conversation on their behalf.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to spend time with you as well as catch up with a lot of good friends.
Yeah, it's an opportunity to spend a lot more time together. We're so busy here. We'll have a couple hearings to deal with, but I'm not taking any other appointments, and I put it on your calendar. No other appointments. I'm making sure you're free as well, because it's cliche at this point, but you learn more in the hallways than you do in the classroom. And just look at this. Maybe I taught you a little something today about an approach on a case. But I'm going to hear that from so many other attorneys. So I'm always excited for an Oscar conference, and in beautiful San Diego, which you probably won't see much of it. But
No. And I hope that this comes out before we go, but if any of our colleagues are
Yeah.
listening, watching this, yeah, please find us there. We'd love to chat with you. Every
Yes.
time I go to these conferences now, literally, I stand in the corner of a room and I feel like people just come up to me because they're watching and listening to us.
I want to do the segment that you just did with some of our friends where we're going to go live. I know
Oh, that's a great idea.
Narina has been, getting on my case about Narina's our one. What's her title? Like seriously, advanced of everything.
But she kind of does everything. She also kind of oversees the marketing. So
Yeah, just
I
Narina,
really know what her
liner legal boss. She wants us to do more live videos and to do more stories. And I think it would be nice if we went up to our friends
You're
and
right.
asked that question to them.
I love that. I love that. Let's definitely do that.
Yeah, we will. Let's go on interviewing people. We have our 2 microphones over.
There we go.
I'm gonna pack them.
Well, thank you everybody for
Yeah.
tuning in.
This is-
Thank you, Adam, for being handsome. And
Cameras on you next time.
I'm looking forward to our next episode.
Me too.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Disability Warriors, The Download. If today's episode inspired you, educated you, or gave you hope, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs it. Need help with your disability claim? Visit linerlegal.com today to schedule your free consultation. Stay connected with us on social media for more stories, insights, and victories from the disability community. Until next time, stay strong, stay empowered, and remember, you are not in this alone.
Because your voice matters.
Your fight matters.
And we're with you every step of the way.